What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast and video live stream. I am fired up because today we are going to be talking about something that is really important, and it's what new sellers and seasoned sellers need to know moving into the new year. And this is 6 myths that Etsy sellers are still falling prey to. And what I mean by that is these are things that might have worked in the past but are not working anymore. And I actually reached out into our Facebook group and I did a little poll, or a little bit of feedback on a post, and I had some really great discussion. And some people even disagreed with some of these, and we're going to talk through those because the reason why I wanted to jump on here and do this was so I can explain further on each one of these. All right. Now, if you are brand new to a live stream here today, the podcast, and you want to be part of our private group, you want to join us on these live streams and you want to ask questions and all of that, head on over to brandcreators.com/group. All right. That's brandcreators.com/group. That is the number one Facebook group as of right now that is helping Etsy sellers build a brand. So if you're interested in joining like-minded people, head on over and join us inside of the Facebook group. All right. So with that all being said, I've got my business partner, Chris Schaefer, on today. So this way here, him and I can go back and forth and we can explain these, but also we can read through some of the comments that were posted in the group. And we can, share them with you, but then also give you our opinion and also, some thoughts, because we have some real data just from our own experience. So that's what we're going to be doing here on this episode. Now, if you are here for the first time, do me a favor, drop in the comments that it's your first time joining us on one of these videos and one of these live streams. Chris, how are we doing? And where do we want to start with this? I know we got to dig in because we got 6 of these to cover. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we do officially kick this thing off?
Other than I can't believe it's almost 2024.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing. I'm kind of surprised. And man, we say this every year, but this year flew by. And the last thing I really remember was like February or March, and we were talking about some of the changes that Etsy was making and focusing more on brands. And now we're at the end of a year, moving into a new year with a set of new challenges, and it feels like it just flew by. Fourth quarter was a breeze in terms of how quick it went. And I know we had a lot of fun. Your wife may not feel quite the same way with all of the orders that she had to fulfill, but I know we're kind of out of the woods in terms of the work there, and we're getting ready for 2024. And that really is what made us think about all of the different things that will hold people back moving into the new year. So I know we're going to cover 6 here. We're going to cover potentially a few of the other ones that popped up in the comments. But if anybody who's here with us live has an additional 1 or 2 that they want to drop in the chat that they think is a myth that holds Etsy sellers back, we may address a few of those as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we're going to do. And I am excited. And really where this came from, by the way, was, the day after Christmas. Actually, it was Christmas Day. I take that back. My wife and I went on a long walk, and, we were kind of reflecting and also taking a deep breath because it was a crazy year. And my wife, like you said, Chris, was super busy. And, we got talking, of course, about Etsy. And, I started to kind of think through, like, what are people doing right now that are feeling though it isn't working for them? What is the difference? What are the things that we're focusing on that to be quite honest, most people are not? And that's where I kind of came up with these 6, and I ran it into the group, and the group kind of gave me their feedback too. So would love to hear your thoughts on this once we go through these. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. So the very first one is, and this is again, to me, a myth that is no longer going to be working for, I would say, 99% of sellers. And that is chasing trends or chasing hot products, designs. I don't know, Chris, if you heard, there is a sweatshirt, I think it was, that went viral on TikTok, and it was the pickle shirt. It was basically a pickle shirt that someone had created who loves pickles. And they launched it on their Shopify store, and it didn't really do much. But then a TikTok influencer got a hold of it and promoted it and talked about it, and it went viral. And that's what we're talking about. Like, that's not really a business model. And you used to be able to do something like that similar on Etsy, but nowadays that's not going to work. And if it does work, well, it's probably only going to work for that one person for a short period of time. And then there's going to be, I don't know, 20, 30, 50, 100 sellers competing on that design, and then just trying to find the next one to be the first out of the gate. So if you are watching this and you've been hearing that you can just find those trending designs or the trending, maybe even if it's a design, but maybe it's a niche, like right now that might be growing, and you're like, this is something that I'm going to jump on. You have to ask yourself the question, and this is again what we've done, and that is this something that can be built into a long-term business? If we look at the pickle shirt, the pickle jar shirt that went viral, and I think it sold over $500,000 worth of product in fourth quarter, which is mind-blowing, right? What is that going to lead that company to, right? The person that created, let's say that you created the pickle shirt. What kind of business are you going to build on the backside of that? Okay. You might have these customers that came through the door, but now you have to start thinking to yourself, what else am I going to sell those people? Yes, you could probably sell novelty type shirts, and you'll probably sell some. But is that a long-term business with repeat customers? That's what we always ask ourselves. So the myth right now that people are still falling prey to is, I can just launch a design and it's going to go viral and I'm going to make $500,000 or $10,000 a month. That's something we need to avoid moving forward. And we talk a lot about building a brand. I mean, heck, our name of this is Brand Creators, because that's what we focus on. That's what we talk about. But that is something that I would love to be able to shout from the rooftop and tell anyone that is considering selling on Etsy, if that is your strategy, you need to pivot, and you need to pivot fast. And the way that I would pivot is I would build a brand. I would focus on a niche, and I would then find products that niche is buying, and then I would create products for that customer. End of story. Chris, anything you want to add to that before we move on to myth number 2?
So, Scott, the question I know we're going to get, and I'm going to pose this to you, is, wait, the definition Chris and Scott always use for a niche is that it's something people can say that they like or identify as. Could someone not say, I am a pickle lover, and have that be a niche? Is there a niche for pickle lovers that you could take that and pivot your pickle jar t-shirt into a niche-based approach, rather than using the approach of the everything store or the novelty t-shirt store type of an approach? I know we're going to get that, so I wanted to pose that to you really quick and just go through that thought exercise.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, here's what you'd have to ask yourself, okay, is on the pickle shirts, let's use that as an example. I think that's a great example here. You have to ask yourself, are there Facebook groups of people that are just obsessed with pickles, and they decorate with pickle stuff in their house, and they buy all kinds of pickle stuff? And it's kind of like the ones that are into gnomes or into frogs, right? That is a thing. Maybe people are into dolphins, right? Maybe people are into koala bears, right? Like that could work, but you're probably still, it's going to be very narrow. But you have to ask yourself, what's the true potential here for growth, right? Can you build that into a 6-figure or a 7-figure sustainable business? That's the key word there, the sustainable business. And are there people out there that are actively searching for what you have to offer? Are people searching for pickle stuff for pickle enthusiasts? I mean, that's what we have to ask ourselves. And that is how I would run that test or that filter to say, oh, I see there's a whole bunch of products that person would buy because they're searching for this and they're gifting items. So those are the questions that I would have to ask myself. In this case, I would probably guess, no, it's probably not going to be a business that's built around pickles. I could be wrong, but that's just a hunch I have. What's your thoughts, Chris?
There's nothing wrong with that. And I think I would change this from pickles to avocados because, Scott, you know I love avocados. You know, Michelle has gotten me an avocado mug, like an avocado stuffed animal to put different places, right? Because I have avocados. And that's something that people, or I love avocados. That's something that people gift me. It's like funny avocado things, right? But the real arbiter of this, I don't identify as an avocado, obviously, right? But I do have identify as an avocado lover. Would I go buy those things for myself? Probably not, right? I don't really buy a ton of things for myself anyway. So, you know, I'm kind of out of the picture there. But the real arbiter of this would be, is there enough demand on Etsy in the pickle lover niche or the avocado lover niche to support your business goals, right? And I think this comes back to the real lesson that I want to pull out of this, which is you can use the product-based approach and that can work in limited circumstances. Right? Every time we say we advocate for the niche-based approach, somebody goes, well, what about this person? And Shelly in the comments just said, you know, if you, I was watching somebody the other day and they said, all you have to do is put up 2,000 products and 2 of them will carry you through Q4. Well, if that's what you want to do, if you want to do nothing but create products all day, then that general store approach can work in some limited circumstances. But if you want a business that isn't subject to the whims of demand, that isn't subject to all of the problems with competition in those spaces, and that you don't have to sit around all day and create 2,000 products to have 2 that are successful enough to start to generate you income, then we have to look at the niche-based approach. And the end all be all of whether your niche that you're thinking about is going to work is the demand within the Etsy ecosystem. So we would need to look at the other pickle products or the other avocado products that are being sold on Etsy using something like our friends over at Everbee, shameless plug, right? To figure out how many of those things are being sold each month. And if that we could take a portion of those sales from the pickle pillows and the pickle shirts and the pickle brine kits and all of the other pickle things, the pickle mugs, right? Would that support our revenue goals? If the answer is yes, then you can absolutely turn pickles into a niche. If the answer is no, then you would need to move on and you wouldn't want to be chasing that trend regardless. So move on to the next niche on your list. But you could potentially do it, right? Yeah. Just sitting here, there's probably not enough to be able to support that. But if we wanted to do a deep dive and evaluate whether or not we could create a pickle-based store on Etsy, it's doable. We just have to go look at the competition, look at the sales volume, and then backwards engineer that to figure out if it would support our goal. I bet we could probably get to $500 to $1,000 a month pretty easily in pickles store on Etsy. But to get beyond that would probably be a bit of a stretch. If somebody out there wants to do the research, let us know in the comments where you think you could get by building a pickle-based store, and let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know. We'd be curious. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Okay, and this is the second myth that I came up with after, well, teaching a lot of our students, but also having them come in and tell us, like, this is what I have been told. This is what I have been, taught to do. And that is that you can't create just a shop that is focused on one niche. You have to go out there and you have to find multiple niches in order to make it work on Etsy. Now, here's where I would agree with that, but I also disagree with that. Here's what I mean. If you are going to go with, I'm just going to launch a whole bunch of different products, then yes, you are going to have to get into a whole bunch of different niches. The problem with that is kind of like the one comment that we just got that said that someone was being taught to launch 2,000 products and then hopefully 2 of those would be hits that would carry you through Q4. That's a lot of products to have to throw out there and a lot of wasted time to hopefully land two. Wouldn't you rather be more strategic by doing niche validation than also creating these products that are also going to be purchased now, but in the future? And also, the more products that you add that's tailored towards this customer, you have a greater chance of them coming back and buying more or buying more on day one. Wouldn't you rather take the time and put into building your brand with assets that will continue to give in return versus just slapping? Like, think about that. 2,000 products just to list them alone. Even if I had all the designs done, right? If I had to go in and do all that, how much time is spent there hoping and praying that you're going to land one or two of those? That's not a model that I would want to get behind. So if you are thinking that you have to have multiple niches in order to make this thing work, I'm here to tell you, no, you don't. We're doing it. Now, does that mean that you don't bolt on what we call sub niches or shoulder niches? Yes, absolutely. And someone had wrote in the comments that they're thinking about going into like the camping space, but then they also want to add on hiking and maybe mountain biking and things like that. Yes, that's absolutely doable because still it's targeting a customer that's coming in that is looking for camping stuff. That camper is probably into hiking, mountain biking, and all of those other things, right? In travel. So yes, that can work. Okay. But I'm talking about the person that says, I'm going to launch a pickle shirt because I think it can do really well. And then I'm going to launch a maternity shirt. And then I'm going to launch, I don't know, a onesie for a baby. And I'm going to try to go in all of these different niches to try to collectively get to where I want to go. And not to mention that when you're doing that strategy, you're not building a customer base, an asset that for you and your business can then take any other products that you launch and really take those and skyrocket sales. So this way here, you get index faster, you get sales out of the gate, you get reviews out of the gate, like all of that stuff is what we want to do. That's why I'm a huge fan of building brands. I'm also a big fan of focusing on one niche, and it can be broad. So if we talk about wedding is broad, but maybe we start with I don't know, the bridal party, or maybe we start with the groomsmen. Like, we can start wherever we want, but they're still related to the overall niche in wedding. So hopefully that made sense. And let us know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to know. All right. So Chris, anything you want to add to that before we wrap that section up and move on to number 3?
Elysian Artisan just said, the dilemma about whether or not a niche will work for you should now be and forever will be referred to as Scott's Pickle. I'm designing the t-shirt now. I'm going to be a millionaire, right? It's kind of like Occam's razor, the Pareto principle, right? This is the Scott's Pickle dilemma, which is, should you launch a pickle short shirt or not? And Scott, in terms of having to launch in multiple niches, the answer is no, you should not be launching in multiple niches. And it's actually a little counterintuitive because the people who advocate for this approach will typically say, well, you want to have as many chances at being successful as possible. So the first thing you should do is blanket Etsy with as many possibilities of things that could potentially work. But the reason that doesn't work is because even if you launch 2,000 products, which, Scott, I know that's going to beg the question, how many products do you need to be successful? Even more than 3 years into this process now, the store that we talk about all the time on this channel has less than 900 products. That's after 3 years, right? And so you don't have to launch 2,000 products. There's no reason you would have to do that. But the reason even that strategy doesn't work, just launching a pure volume of products, does not work as well as people think that it would, is because Etsy doesn't really understand what your store is all about. So it makes you harder to rank in search, which means you are actually more susceptible to the competition because Etsy doesn't know exactly who to show your product to. Right? They say they've got some bass fishing stuff, some hamster stuff, some four-wheeling stuff, some outdoor stuff, some cooking stuff. So you lose a small chunk of the SEO algorithm. And then on top of that, to begin with, even if you do start to get some sales, You lose out on the higher conversion rates that come from people coming to your store because they know exactly what to expect. You lose out on a wider variety of sales that can come in because you are concentrated in a niche. It makes Etsy more likely to show you for people who are really into bass fishing or pickles or whatever your niche is. And you actually pick up more sales on your new products from the people who have purchased from you in the past, which means they rank higher, faster, and more robustly, I guess the word would be. You're more resistant to competition because you have those early sales come in. You have higher conversion rates when you're using the niche-based approach. If you're using the throw spaghetti at the wall approach, you lose out on all of that. It actually makes it harder for you to rank. It makes you more susceptible for competition. So even though you have more lines in the water, it's kind of like casting a bunch of lines with no bait on them, right? The fish are like, why would I bite that hook? That doesn't make any sense, both in terms of the Etsy algorithm being a fish and your ultimate customer being a fish. And so launching in multiple niches is a huge myth that will actually not only slow down your success in 2024, but will prevent you from getting to where you want to be. I would say, Scott, the one exception to this would be when we talk about something like niche stacking or adding in a shoulder niche. And we actually had a question about this on the live before we got into this section. And they said, I guess we're talking about it right now, right? We had planned on talking about this because it's a question that we get all the time. And the answer is yes. As long as the niches make sense together or are sub niches of one another, there's nothing wrong with launching those additional products if that's what you need to do to get to the revenue goal. And I know, Scott, I keep saying, will this get you to the revenue goal? And that's the ultimate question that you have to answer. If you want to make $1,000 a month in your shop, that is a very different equation than if you want to make $100,000 a month in your shop. So a niche that might support that $1,000 shop just by itself, I don't know, outdoor inflatable camping gear, right? We're selling customized camping mats or something like that. That could get us to $1,000. That's not likely to get us to $100,000. So if our goal is to get to that $100,000, we are going to have to add in some other portions of the sports and outdoors niche rather than just the sub niche of inflatable outdoor camping. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And I think, again, we're not saying that you won't, create these sub niches with products. We are saying that you'll definitely want to do that. But what we're saying is you do want a focus on the customer and what are the other things that customer would buy that's related to the first thing. And I think that's what we're saying there.
So Ignatius Pennyfeather the Seventh, Scott, just asked, is it too broad to have an outdoor focused store with categories or separate stores for each activity or hobby? And the answer is, if you start out that way, it probably is. Typically, you're going to want to start at the entry point that you have found that will get you as close to your goal as possible. So going back, Scott, to your example of the wedding niche, starting a generic wedding store is pretty much the same thing right now as just throwing 2,000 random products up. What you want to do is you want to find a sub niche that you can start to build authority in and then add in the other things. So Ignatius Pennyfeather the Seventh, if your ultimate goal to reach your revenue is to create an outdoor school, a fully outdoor store, then that's okay. But you're not going to start with just one product in camping, one product in hiking. You're going to start in whatever you think the easiest sub niche to serve would be. And then once you've really mastered that, you started bringing customers in on that, then you can start adding in the other things. But you don't want to go too broad, even within a niche when you are starting. You want to start with one sole focus. One store, one sole focus. Name your store something that allows you to start to expand out from outdoor inflatable camping to hiking to some of the other outdoor things that you want to include. But the goal should be to really focus on that one sub niche until you know that you're kind of constrained on growth there, and then start adding in some of the other products from the other sub niches that will get you closer to that revenue goal.
Yeah, perfect. Here's the one thing I'm going to put a little bookend here on this section. We're going to move on. But the one thing that I want people to understand about what we're talking about in general, not going after multiple niches, right? Like not doing that. And I mean like non-related niches is what we're talking about, right? And not chasing just trending products. What I want you to think about is Can you take what you're creating for Etsy and can you take that and put it on your website and build a website now that if a customer comes there, they're going to find certain things that's going to be related? I want you to think along those lines because that's ultimately what you would want to do. Like we're talking about Etsy because it's a great platform to get started. I mean, heck, we're 3 years in right now, and we're just starting to build out our Shopify store, right? Because we've proven the products. We've built out a good brand. We've got customer lists, like all of that stuff. Now we're starting to build that. And that's going to be 2024 for us. That's going to be the mission for us, is to be able to now build out what we've already done on Etsy and bring it over here to a brand new audience. And really that's where you can scale this thing to beyond 6 figures and even get to 7 figures. So I want you to just think about that. That's why we're focusing on that. Can you take that pickle shirt and build a pickle brand around that and bring it off? Probably not unless you're just going to go out there and try to find influencers that are going to give you a push, which is very, very just not consistent. And so that's what we're talking about. So we're going to move on. We're going to get into now the third myth. And this one here gets a lot of debate, And some would disagree with what I'm about to share with you. And that is, people think that you have to master SEO, and that is the secret sauce to succeeding on Etsy. And I am going to disagree with that. Now, let's go back 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years ago. Was this a thing? Absolutely, 100%. But guess what? Just like anything else out there, things change, right? Things change. When competition comes in, things change. Algorithms change. Google changes things all the time for when you're searching for content. YouTube changes all the time, okay, as it gets more data, as it starts to get in new creators. Etsy does the same thing. Amazon does the same thing. Any platform is going to change. When I say this, though, people are like, well, Scott, what are you talking about? You have to be able to get good SEO. And if you do, then Etsy's going to send you traffic. That's how it works. And here's what I mean. There is more that has to happen with SEO than it used to. And you also need to understand that SEO is more than just, well, a keyword in your title that you can find that people are searching for and putting it in there. Okay. So yes, I agree that you need to have a really well optimized listing with SEO. And if you're brand new and you're wondering what that is, very, very simple. Okay. Your title is going to be keywords that people are searching for. You don't have to go find these hidden keywords that no one else is targeting because they're not out there. All right. You want to follow the breadcrumbs. You want to look at other sellers that are selling a similar product and what are the keywords that are driving them sales. Okay. I don't waste time looking at keywords more than just looking at the competition. What are they using? How many sales are they getting? And I'm going to go ahead and use those keywords because the keywords are generic, right? It's like perfect gift for groomsmen. You know what I mean? Or personalized groomsman gift. That's the title. And then you're going to add some other ones in there. Obviously, wedding gift groomsman, right? Like these are the things that we're looking for. But that's it. Once I have that, I've already told Etsy what it is that I'm selling. Now, we also want to have a really well written description because that also gives another opportunity for our listing to get indexed in search. Okay. And that's fine. We want to do that. We want a good image, right? We want good images, I should say, because we want, when people see the listing, when we do get found, we want to have a good click-through rate. And then when people get into the listing, we want a good conversion rate. Okay. And then that comes into more SEO stuff, which is, and people don't talk about this, is part of SEO is conversions. Well, getting conversions also is helped when you get what? Reviews, right? So that's why we want to focus on that stuff. But here's the deal. I can do all of that stuff right there that I just mentioned. I can do all of that stuff. And guess what? 100 other people are doing the same darn thing. Why is Etsy going to send me traffic just because I posted my listing or I uploaded my listing? Now, I hear people say it takes time to get indexed and it takes time before Etsy is going to show your listing. And that is true, but here's the reason why that takes so long. Because they're never going to show your listing unless you have sales. Bottom line. And the next question I get is, well, Scott, that seems like hard. Like, how am I supposed to get sales if I can't be seen? You got to start learning marketing. Like, bottom line is, guys, you have to learn marketing. Marketing is something that all sellers are going to need to learn how to do. Now, if you want more of our SEO behind the scenes optimization stuff, we do have a full guide that we created, and we will give you access to that. If you want that, just go ahead and drop in the comments that you want the SEO guide. Just put in there SEO. All right. Just put in SEO, and then we'll send you a link to that. All right. So if you want that, we're more than happy to give you that. There's more stuff, obviously, that we talk about as far as optimization, but that's the gist, right? Good title, good images, good description, tags. All right. And then, yes, we want to get some reviews. So that way there we have people that trust us, and then we get more sales when people come into our listing. But that's it. But now, okay, I got all that, right? I got all that. But now how do I get sales? Well, that's where the marketing comes in. And one piece of marketing that a lot of people don't want to hear is, let's give Etsy some money and let them promote us. And this way here, we can get eyeballs almost immediately. And then from there, as long as we've optimized our listing with good images and good description, well, there's a good chance we're going to start getting some sales. Well, guess what? Those sales is going to do two things. It's going to let Etsy know, hey, this product's selling. Maybe we should show it in organic results. And then the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to probably start getting some reviews. And when you get reviews, what's going to happen? If you get 100 people to see your listing and actually go into the listing, and you have one person buy, that's 1%. If we can get it to 2%, well, that's going to show the algorithm that, well, this product is converting better than maybe this one over here. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. The days of mastering SEO or finding those hidden keywords that no one else has found yet. Waste of time. Optimize the listing. Yes, you want to do keyword research. Yes, you want to do all of those other things that I just talked about, but that's it. Then we need to market it. Then we have to get eyeballs. Now we can use email marketing if you have built a list. Like, that's why it's important too that we talk about building a brand, because we're building a brand of people, a customer list that have purchased things that we know that they're interested in. Well, guess what? We launch new products. If we have an email list, we can send an email to those people and say, hey, we're going to run a special this week. And guess what? We're going to get sales. What is that going to do? It's going to let Etsy know this product's selling. It's converting pretty well. Maybe we should start showing it in search. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. Once you understand that, you're not going to be just thinking to yourself, why isn't my product selling? I've done everything that they said to do. I found these keywords, or maybe I just haven't found that little keyword that people are telling me that I need to find. No, that's not the answer. Okay. So I really want you to understand this. If you want that guide of our SEO best practices and optimization, really how to understand it and what to do, go ahead and drop in the comments SEO, and we will send you that guide. Okay. Completely free, no strings attached. All right. Do that. Chris, I know you're going to probably want to add a couple of points here. What you got on your mind on the SEO stuff?
Oh man, this is Scott, I think the hottest take that you and I have in terms of things that do and don't work, right? We've talked enough about niches versus general stores, the spaghetti at the wall approach, that most people understand where you and I stand on that at this point. Saying that mastering SEO is not something that will make you successful in 2024 and beyond, I think is probably the most misunderstood thing that you and I talk about. Because just listening to the principle there, listening to the statement, people will say, well, that means you think SEO is not important. It's actually the exact opposite of what we're saying. But what we are saying is it's not the thing that's going to make or break your store. You have to follow the SEO fundamentals. You have to have the keywords that people are looking for in your title, tags, description, and alt text, which again, the alt text in your images is something people always forget about. But the obsessive compulsive need to go into your Etsy store on a daily basis and tweak and test your listings and say, I'm going to drop this keyword in for 3 days and then that keyword in for 3 days. I'm going to move the title around. That's not only counterintuitive or contrary to your success on Etsy because it screws up the algorithm every time you make those changes. But it's also not necessary, right? Etsy's algorithm has a really good understanding of synonyms and antonyms, right? Words that mean the same thing, words that are the opposite meaning, plurals. And yes, there's some exceptions to that, but for the most part, they're doing a really good job with those things. So if we put in the word hat into the listing, we don't also need to put in cap and baseball cap and all of those things. Etsy understands that a hat is a hat is a hat. And if it's a baseball cap, that may be a more specific kind of hat, but it's still at least relevant for hat. And so if we do just the fundamentals, which is making sure that we do our keyword research and we find the keywords that our competitors are using that are likely leading to traffic and sales for them, we can set our foundation. That is the 20% of the work that leads to 80% of the results, where we see so many sellers spending and quite frankly wasting time is in the 80% of the work that leads to the 20% of the results, which is I need to find this perfect keyword. And they want to find, Scott, you said something twice, hidden keywords that no one else is using. While that was kind of a good idea at some point, long tail keywords, variations of keywords to get your website ranked in Google and start to pick up some of that traffic, that's actually a bad idea on Etsy, because if no one is using it, it's likely that no one is typing it in to find that product. So why would you waste time, energy, effort, and SEO juju trying to find the perfect keyword that has no competition on it and also no sales, right? We do want to have the ability to rank competitively. And our job as the shop owner is to make sure that our listings are in front of buyers. The best way to do that is to use the keywords that most people are using to describe the product. So hidden keywords are actually likely bad keywords to include in your listing. The obsession with SEO over optimization leads to forgetting the most important part. Keyword stuffing, all of these things, trying to please the Etsy algorithm actually backfires in a lot of cases. And Scott, you were talking about conversion rates for a minute. You said, hey, if we can get our listing to convert at 2% and your listing converts at 1%, Etsy's more likely to show us, because their goal every time somebody runs a search is to put the listing that is most likely to sell in front of that potential customer. And when we over optimize for the algorithm, we under optimize for human beings. And in doing that, we actually handicap our conversion rate. So we don't need to go in and tweak and test and add in every variation of the word. Not only is it not good for the Etsy algorithm in terms of trying to figure out what your item is all about, but it's bad for the customer. We need to take a more human focused idea here. And that will naturally lead to the question of, well, how do we know which keywords are working for our competitors? How do we know what's working? And the answer is up front, you really don't. You can look at the correlation between the top selling items and the variations of that keyword that they are using, the way that they're talking about these things in their title. But until we start to get some real world data back, we don't know what's working and what's not. It could be that the keyword everybody is using is bringing in a lot of traffic and very few sales. So the only way to ever get there is to get the data back, look at it and say, okay, every time I show up for lamp, my thing sells. If I show up for floor lamp or I show up for desk lamp, it doesn't sell. So we're then going to optimize for the more generic lamp in that case. How do we do that? Well, the best, fastest, and easiest way is by turning on Etsy ads. And I know people lose their minds, Scott, when we talk about Etsy SEO and Etsy ads. But even if there's no relation in terms of the algorithm, which we've seen that there is, the data coming back is going to be the same from a consumer perspective in terms of what they click on, whether it's when it's an ad that leads to a sale, or whether it's organic and leads to a sale. So even if there was no correlation between the two algorithms on the ads and organic side, the data is still going to be the same, because most people have no idea that what they're clicking on is an ad. So the keyword they're clicking on the ad side, the keyword they're clicking on the organic side, it's going to lead to roughly the same level of sales. So if we can get that early data back from Etsy ads on those specific keywords that we are running ads on, that will give us a very early indication of how we should better optimize that listing without having to try all of the different variations, without having to over optimize and do any of that. If you don't want to run Etsy ads, you can still go through this process. You just have to use their beta organic analytics and look at the same keyword type data, see what's leading to a sale, and then make sure you're optimizing for that. If it's leading to a lot of traffic and very few sales or no sales, then we're going to kind of take those out and more sculpt the listing to be optimized for the ones that are leading directly to sales. So we're not saying don't do SEO. We're saying master the basics and then rely on real world data rather than the tests and tweaks and over optimization and obsessing about making sure that your Etsy title is 140 characters when it's 139 right now. And you have to figure out the best way to make sure you squeeze out that one extra character of your Etsy title. Forget about that. Master the basics, focus on the customer. What is the best way to write the title description? What are the tags that a customer would potentially need? What are the things that we need to have in the images? And if we can get the basics done, Etsy's going to understand that we qualify. And then it's all about what converts and increasing that conversion rate, whether your traffic is coming from ads or from organic.
Okay, so I'm glad that you went deep on the Etsy ad side, because here's what I was going to say when people are like, but how do I know what keywords people are actually searching for? Real data is given to you when you run Etsy ads. So a lot of times people are like, well, Scott, why would I run ads if I haven't gotten any sales yet? It's getting information. It's getting data to help you understand what keywords you should be targeting. I mean, literally, you can go in to your Etsy ads after they've been running and you can see impressions and you can see clicks and you can see sales and you can see the keywords that led to everything. You can see here's another one. You can see a keyword that got a lot of clicks but didn't get any sales. That there, my friends, we want to turn that one off. The second thing we want to know is, okay, well, what one actually led to a sale? And maybe we need to lean in on that one a little bit more. So when people are thinking like in the very beginning, I don't want to run Etsy ads yet because I don't have a huge budget and I don't want to spend any money yet until I know that this thing will sell. Well, you're probably going to be waiting around a long time and you're never going to really know what led to a sale. So you can do this for as little as $2 per day, and you can start to collect that data. And I know Etsy ads seems like a mystery for a lot of people. And actually, Chris and I have started to put together an Etsy ads guide. It's almost done. It's almost ready to be released. It's going to be, again, another free resource for you. If you would like us to send you a copy when it's ready, I want you to drop in the comments right now, ads. And if you put in ads in the comment, we will go ahead and we will send that when it's ready, and you can get access to that, which really breaks down our strategy for using $2 to $5 per day ads to be able to, number one, get data, but also be able to hone in on the keywords that are working. And then from there, turn that into consistent sales. So if you're interested in that, drop that in the comments, ads, and we will go ahead and we'll give you a copy of that guide absolutely free. All right. So with that being said, here's what we need to do next. We need to move on to number 4. All right. In the list here of myths that are still being thought are going to lead to success. And in 2024, it's actually not going to be the case. All right. This one here, we already heard from a lot of people that this is what's being taught even. And that is that you have to launch a lot of products. And man, does that sound like a lot of work. Who wants to just take a whole bunch of time, launch a whole bunch of products in a whole bunch of niches and just hope and pray that it works? No, I don't want to. I don't think you want to, but that's still being taught out there, which is crazy that it's still being taught. And it's even crazier that, well, people are still doing it. I mean, even if it was being taught to me, I would need to think to myself, I don't want to put all this time in unless I know that there's a good chance that I'm going to succeed. Now, there's going to be products that you're going to launch that you think are going to do okay and they just don't do okay. That's all right. But 1,000 products or 2,000 products, that's a full-time job in itself, unless you're just going to throw up crap, which we don't want to do. Now, think about this. How are you going to fully really optimize that many products, right? You're not going to be able to optimize them with good SEO, and you're not going to be able to run Etsy ads effectively on all of those listings because it's going to be crazy to manage. So that right there, that's a huge myth that needs to be addressed. And that's why I'm doing it right here for you right now, is because I want you to know you don't have to launch thousands of products in order to be successful. If anything, I would rather take more time in the product research, product validation. I would rather spend more time there. So this way here, I know that there's a good chance that this product is going to sell, and it's going to sell well. And what I mean by that is I want to look at products that aren't just low competition and no one else is selling it. I'm looking at what's the potential for sales, right? I've talked about this before. People run away from competition. I'm not running away from it. I'm going to actually look and see where's the bigger piece of the pie to be had. And I'm starting with the niche. I'm going to validate the niche, and I'm going to see, is there enough demand for a lot of different people to make sales? Because if that's the case, then even though there's competition, there's still the potential to be able to get the sales that I'm looking to get for our business. The other thing is just because it's doing well on Etsy doesn't mean that I can't now take that same product and start selling it on other platforms or on my website. Okay. Because if it's been validated here on Etsy, there's a good chance there's people buying it off of Etsy too. So that's another thing that I want to look at. So for me, I would rather put the blinders on, focus on that one niche, build products for that one customer, knowing that every product that I create has a potential for that customer to buy. Here's the other thing that's really cool about this strategy, okay, versus the launch 1,000 products in a month type thing, right? Here's the other thing. Let's say that I want to launch some products that don't have a lot of demand, but I know that my customer would be interested in these. Well, that's okay, because if we have products that do get a lot of demand and they bring people into our shop, there's a good chance that while they're browsing our shop, they might want to buy that. So that's the other upside here, is now I can have less competition on the products that I'm selling because no one else is really going after these other products, because on the surface, they don't get a lot of demand. But I've strategically went out and found products that get a lot of demand, bring the customer in, the right customer in. And now as they're in there, as they're browsing around, they're like, oh, I'm going to throw one of them in the cart. Okay. You've done it. I know I've done it. You walk in a store and you're in there, and let's say that you were going in to look at wedding stuff. Okay. Let's say that you were going into a wedding store and you were in there and you're looking for a dress. Okay. And you're browsing around, and then you see stuff for bridesmaids, maybe little headbands. Okay. Well, you didn't go in there for the headband, but you might want to buy the headband. Okay. Or maybe it's a registry book. Okay. You didn't go in there looking for a registry book, but guess what? I think that's what it's called, a registry book. I don't know what it's called, guest list or whatever. I don't know. Maybe a little thing, a journal or something that people can write something in, a note. Okay. Weddings is not my thing. Okay. But you get the idea. If you're coming in there for the one thing, right? A lot of demand for the wedding dress, but not so much for the little journal or the groomsmen's gifts, or maybe it's the bachelorette party. Maybe there's not as much demand for that, but once I have them in the store and they're browsing around, it's a good chance that they might want to buy some of that stuff. So that's what we want to do. We don't want to say, I got to launch 1,000 new products in the next 3 months. Who wants to do that? I don't. I want to be more strategic. So that's why I wanted to share that with you. You don't have to go down that road. You don't have to be, on your computer coming up with these designs and blasting out as many listings as you can because you heard that by listing more products, you have a better chance of showing up. No, I don't believe that Etsy's going to look at that and go, this store has more listings, so we're going to give them more traffic. That's not how it works. It's how many sales is this shop making? How many sales is this item making? That's what counts. And that's what Etsy wants. Here's another little fun fact for you. People think that Etsy they just want you to list products, even if you don't sell them, because that's where they're going to make their money. They're going to make 20 cents for a listing. They make way more if you sell a product, by the way. And if you run Etsy ads, yeah, people are like, they just want to take my money for Etsy ads. They don't care if I sell any. That's not true. If you sell, guess what? You're going to keep running ads, aren't you? So they're going to make way more if you make sales than if you just list products. All right. So little fun fact there for you. You don't have to chase a whole bunch of products. You don't have to go ahead and launch a whole bunch of products. What do you think, Chris?
I love that you went into that, because that's actually a myth we didn't have on the list, Scott. It was like, Etsy just wants your 20-cent listing fee, or they want your 30 cents a click on Etsy ads, or whatever it is these days, right? They want you to sell stuff. And I think, Scott, there is a grain of truth to this myth about launching as many products as humanly possible if you're using the spray and pray approach, right? The reason this would work if you are just selling mugs is because then you actually have a chance of potentially accidentally stumbling upon a product that someone has not created that there is existing demand for, or a product that is under optimized that there is existing demand for. But there's no reason you would need to do that. And in fact, that hit rate is coming down every single day, because as people launch 1,000 products a month of every kind of mug that you can imagine, we're now at the ratio that we were talking about a little bit earlier of 2,000 products to have 2 winners. As we talked about, we have less than 900 products in the store after 3 years. And the vast majority of those are either the same design applied to multiple different products, or slight variations on that design to appeal to different sub portions of our niche. So instead of it being a bass wearing a Santa hat, it's a trout wearing a Santa hat, right? We're not going out and creating brand new things and launching as many as possible. We're launching things we know that our customers want and applying it across all of the different products that our customers have told us that they enjoy. And so if you're using the spray and pray approach, I do understand why this would be appealing, because you don't have to be creative. You don't have to do any research. You don't have to spend an extra 5 minutes thinking about your listing. You're just going to create as many different variations of your mug as possible and throw it up, and you'll occasionally stumble across something that sells. But the better way of doing this is pulling back, spending the extra 5 or 10 minutes rather than creating 2 more different designs for different niches, and thinking about, can I apply this to my niche? Is it being looked for in my niche? If yes, then do I create it? If no, then I probably skip this one for now. And so you do not need to do this to be successful, with the exception of if you're determined to use that spray and pray approach, you're going to have to create a lot more products than you would if you are using the niche focused approach, which is yet another reason, Scott, why you and I advocate for using the niche focused approach. We can spend more time on getting sales and less time on creating new novel designs, just on the off chance that we'll have a 1 in 1,000 chance that that product carries a few sales back to the store.
Yeah, I've got a little segment I'm going to do in a little while that I'm calling the Etsy lottery method, and we're gonna talk about that. And that's kind of what you're talking about, Chris. But yeah, let's move on to myth number 5, and that is, you have to find low competition products, and you need to find them fast before anyone else gets on those products. And that's the way that you're going to be able to succeed in 2024 and beyond. And to me, that is a myth, because I want competition. And the reason why I want competition is because if there's competition, that means there's demand for that product, all right, or that niche. And so I'm actually the opposite, as far as I'm not looking at that like, oh, I want to go ahead and find this little pocket that no one else is there, because it's just a matter of time that people are going to be there, number one. Number two, there's probably not a lot of good pockets out there. And why not go and swim where the money already is? Like, let's get the river of money that's flowing, and let's just try to get in front of it. Let's try to come up with a design that is going to stand out. Let's come up with a new product that's going to stand out, because we know people are actively searching. And that's the big thing here, is I want you to understand that you can come up with a great product. You can have a great product idea. But if you don't know if people are actually searching for what you have to offer, you might be wasting your time. And I say you might be, because you might not be. But you have to do the research to say, okay, are people actually searching for what I am about to create. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about, well, you don't have to find all your products with really, really great demand. And that is still true. And here's what I mean. When first starting, you want to find a good group, a product line that has good demand. So this way here, you have all of these different products that are going to be searched for. And you have different streams of traffic for what people are searching for. Okay. Think about it that way. Once we get them into our shop, now we can show them some other things that are related to what they were searching for, but they might not have been searching for, or they might not even have thought of searching for. Okay. So that's okay. But we need to understand that we want there to be demand. We want a lot of demand, because this way here, we know that there's so much room for us to grow and there's unlimited potential possibly. And we're knowing that if this is happening over here on Etsy, there's a good chance it's happening over here on Google, maybe Amazon, heck, maybe even eBay. Who knows? Like any of the other platforms. So I don't want to limit myself and really think to myself that I'm going to find this low competitive or low competition type product, and I'm going to be able to go in there and no one else is going to find it but me. Okay. That's not what I want to do. I want to go after products that I know have good, solid demand. Because once again, if I'm doing the work here, if I'm going to put in the time and energy to create really good designs, really good products, really good listings, spend all my time to do this, well, I want a great chance of success. All right. And that's why if you're just going after products that are low competition, there's a good chance not getting a lot of traffic. So you're going to get one sale here, one sale there. And then you're going to be frustrated as to, why am I not getting any sales? Because you went after a low competition, unsaturated market that really doesn't get a lot of search, right? There's probably a reason why it's not competitive. Okay. So that's what I would advise there on that. If you're thinking to yourself that you're going to find these little pockets, I'm here to tell you, you're probably not. So I would lean towards building a brand in a niche that has good, solid demand. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
I think that one is perfect. It's all about finding the niche and finding demand. We don't have to worry about finding the perfect product. We don't have to worry about any of those kinds of things when we use the niche-based approach. Scott, the other way that we typically hear this myth is, how could I possibly compete with somebody selling a $10 t-shirt? Right? My print on demand cost for a t-shirt is $12. That's the cost when we include shipping. People are selling it for $10. Should I just not create a t-shirt, even though a lot of people in my niche like t-shirts, because it's too competitive from a price perspective? And the answer is no. You can still absolutely create t-shirts, and we sell t-shirts and sweatshirts at a substantially higher price than most of our competition. Why? Because we're using the niche-based approach. The real question is, how do we get that customer originally? It's probably not going to be for somebody searching for a bass fishing t-shirt, but once they've come in and they've purchased from us, when they go to look for a bass fishing t-shirt, they're extremely likely to buy from us. And we ran the Etsy buyer survey and have all kinds of statistics on how likely people are. And it was somewhere over 60% if somebody has purchased from you in the past. And when you bring customers in like that, they're no longer price sensitive. They're no longer reliant on the Etsy search. They're much more reliant on what is located inside of your store or what you send them to via email follow-up. And so that gets us out of that competition window and just being worried about making sure that we show up number one in Etsy search for every single type of product that we could sell, and being hyper price competitive. We don't have to worry about any of that if we use the niche-based approach.
Love it. Yeah. So, and we also had a comment in here. It said, it's easier to beat existing listings than create a new unheard of product. Most products on Etsy are badly photographed and framed. And that's true. And that's an opportunity. And that's also part of your product research or your niche validation, is to really look and see, like, what are the players in the market? Who am I going up against? And a lot of times you're going to find, just like they said here, is a lot of times it's an under optimized listing starting with images, and your images can go a long way for people then looking at a product and going like, this doesn't look like it's that good a quality. And then you had another one that's like, oh, I really like the look of this. And I'm talking about not even just the product, but the way that the product is presented, right? The mock-up that it's being used with and all of that stuff. So really, really important. I'm glad that they brought that up. All right, let's move on to the sixth myth. This is something that I think people feel as though this is why they're not getting sales. And this is why they've been told to just wait, 6 months and you'll start to get some traffic. And that is, you just can't compete with a shop that's been around for 3, 5, or 10 years. They're just way too established. You can't compete with them. And this is where I would disagree. Yes, it is going to be hard to do what most people are doing, and that is finding a product, seeing that it gets sales, creating a product similar, putting up a decent listing, and then hoping and praying that it gets picked up by SEO and waiting 6 months and then still looking and going like, I wonder why I'm still not getting sales. And it really comes down to, you can compete with these other shops, but this is a big but, you are going to have to aggressively market your products, which to me is an okay thing. I'm all right with doing that. And here's what I mean by aggressive type of marketing. Basically just doing some marketing, because most people on Etsy don't do any marketing. All they do is what I just said. They create the listing, they put a title in there, images, description, tags, and that's it. Hands off, baby. We're done. Now we're going to let Etsy give us that traffic, and they're going to compare it to another shop that has a lot of history and probably a lot of sales. And you're wondering, how am I going to compete? Well, they're not basing it necessarily just off of your shop. They're basing it off of the products. So this is where you would want to go a level deeper, and you would want to look at the products that they are selling and what products are selling the best and how much are they selling? How many of them are they selling? So then what you would want to do is you would want to maybe look at their catalog and go, oh, I see that they're selling 10 a day over here. I can probably sell 10 a day if I do some marketing. And what I would do is then aggressively, and this is where the aggressiveness comes in, I would aggressively reduce my price. And this is where a lot of people won't do it, is what I would do is I would find my break-even point. Okay. I would find out what it's going to cost me to list the product, how much is it going to cost me when I sell the product, with how much it's going to cost me from Printify, wherever I'm buying the actual product and doing my print on demand. I need to find out what that cost is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce my price to break even. Okay. Or maybe $1 above break even. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some money to get exposure to that listing. Okay. Because now I've optimized the listing and I've added a really low price. So this way here, when people do see it, there's a good chance they'll click in and they'll want to get the special deal that's only going to be available for a limited amount of time. Okay. You see what I did there? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Etsy ads and I'm going to push traffic to that listing so people can actually see it. I'm not going to wait for SEO to kick in, because it's probably not going to kick in, because I have this seasoned account over here that's going to basically show up way before me, because they have a lot of history and they have a lot of sales and their products are probably selling consistently. So now what I need to do is I need to put some marketing dollars behind it. Now, not a lot. It could be $2 a day. All right. But what you're going to find is when you do this, you're also going to be getting data back from the Etsy ads. You're going to see what people are searching for, who are clicking in, why are they not buying? Some are going to be buying. What keywords are they buying from, and all that stuff. So it's going to help you also refine that. But you're also now going to probably start getting some sales. And when you start getting some sales, guess what? Etsy's going to pay attention, and Etsy's going to go, okay, let's look and see what's their conversion ratio. We had 100 people come in. They sold 3. That's a 3% conversion. Maybe the one that's got all the sales across their entire shop, maybe that one there is converting low at only 1% because they got lazy. Because a lot of times these shops that started 5 years ago, their listings aren't that well optimized. They're just doing well because they've been around forever. So now it's your job to have better conversions, meaning better images, better descriptions that sell the benefits and the features. And when you start to get reviews, highlight those reviews in some of your pictures. Make sure that all of your images are published. So this way here you can show different angles, the quality, all of those things. So it's an opportunity for you to do a better job with marketing. Okay. So that would be the strategy that I would use going up against a seasoned shop. Does that mean that you can't compete? Absolutely not. You can compete. And guess what? If you follow the brand building model that we've talked about, well, you're also building an asset for your customer when it comes in the door. So when it comes into your Etsy shop, now they have products that are similar and they're possibly going to want to buy one of those that you might not have been even advertising. All right. And then you also have all of these products that now, again, you could take those and put them over on another platform if you wanted to, because yeah, the competition over here might have a seasoned account, but over here they might not. Or maybe on your own website, you might start building out a Shopify store. So all of that stuff goes into it when we're building a brand like we talk about here on the channel. All right. So that would be my strategy. It is a myth that you can't compete with a seasoned shop, and you probably will find that a seasoned shop a lot of times is not well optimized. And that's an opportunity for you to get aggressive with, number one, your pricing, but then also with using some Etsy ads. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Really quickly, and then we have two that came in from the chat, Scott, that I want to address quickly as well. If new shops could never compete with old shops, new shops would not exist, right? Like, let's just think about this logically. If no new sellers could compete with existing sellers, then there would be no new sellers. And yet there's new sellers every single day that are starting to have success. So that's just kind of silly on its face. But then if we take that a little bit deeper, Scott, Etsy's algorithm literally accounts for this. They literally have something built in to their search algorithm. We've referred to it, and a lot of other people refer to it as the Etsy boost or the Etsy bump, right? Where they say, if we don't have a shop score for this listing, which is the overall rating for your entire shop, if we don't have listing data on this, what we're going to do is we're going to give it a chance in the algorithm, and we're going to give it some impressions. We're not going to blast it on the front page everywhere, but we want to see how this new listing compares, because the only thing Etsy cares about at the end of the day is turning everybody who searches on Etsy into a customer. And if a new listing is more likely to do that than an old listing, then a new listing will start to get more and more love from the algorithm. If it's not, then you go through kind of that regular process of Etsy trying to figure out where you fit in, and then you slowly start to build it up. But there is zero reason to think that a new shop can't compete with an old shop. Again, Scott, with the exception of if you're using the spray and pray approach, right? It's really hard to compete with a shop that has 20,000 designs if what you're trying to do is just create as many designs as possible. But if what you're trying to do is sell product, which is what Etsy wants you to do, then there's no reason to think that you can't compete. And it's literally built into the way that Etsy displays new listings. So as long as you're creating something that people are looking for, you're creating a good listing, and hopefully you're driving a little bit of traffic to it along the way, then you can absolutely compete with even established listings. And Scott, you went into a whole bunch of reasons and ways that people can, but the simple truth here is that there's no reason to think that a new listing or a new shop can't compete with an old listing. And Etsy worried about that enough to include exceptions in their algorithm for new listings to try to figure out if they're better than old listings.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. All right. Yeah. So you had a couple that came in the comments. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And then I've got a couple of topics I wanted to try to address if we've got time.
Yeah. So the first one was from Shelly Wagner. She said, the myth I learned, and a bunch of people chimed in the comments, is that no one will come to your shop. All products are sold from the add to cart button on a search page. We know that this is not true. And actually, we talked about this a little while ago, Scott. The Etsy buyer data survey we ran in 2023, we should actually probably talk about running that again as we move into 2024, shows that not only do people come to your shop page, but 33% of people of the most frequent buyers on Etsy will almost always visit that shop page before they make a purchase. And existing customers at 63.8% will come to your shop page to purchase from you again. So the shop page is absolutely worth building out, organizing in a human-friendly way. What people are doing there is trying to figure out if you have more things that you can buy. And again, like most of these, Scott, there is a little bit of a grain of truth to that one, in that if you're using the spray and pray approach, they might come to your shop and not buy anything because they can't find anything else that really appeals to them. If you're using the niche-based approach, everything in your shop has the potential to appeal to them. So the ability to get sales from outside of the search algorithm and that Etsy search page is extremely high if you're using that niche-based approach. The other one, and I wanted to share this with you, Scott, I want to get your thought on this. Have you heard of the Etsy sprinkler, where they turn on traffic and turn off traffic just to make it fair for everybody?
I've never heard of that.
So
maybe it's
this is something. Yeah, it pops up a lot in Facebook groups and some of these kinds of things where people will say, yeah, I get 200 impressions a day, and then they turn off traffic because what they're doing is they're trying to share it around. And if you're getting exactly 200 impressions a day, it's not because Etsy's turning off traffic to your store. It's because that's probably all the traffic that exists for the keywords that listing, or all of your listings, if that's your total traffic, are relevant for. Etsy's goal is not to share the love among all of the listings. Etsy's goal is to sell product. Yes, they like the 30 cents a click they get from you on ads. Yes, they like the 20-cent listing fee. But what they really like is the 9.5% transaction and all of those fees when you make a sale. Their goal is to show the product that will lead to sales. So if you have in-demand products that convert well, there's no reason, and we've never seen this on our products, to think that Etsy's just going to share the love around, right? The way that tends to happen is when a new product is launched, right? Maybe they'll give a few impressions to that to see how it compares to you, but they're not just turning off traffic after some arbitrary number. What they're doing is showing you when you are relevant and not showing you when you aren't. So if you see that you're running up against the wall, you don't have anyone to blame except for yourself. If you're getting 200 impressions a day and you think you should be getting more than that because there's a lot more demand in your space, you need to be looking at two things. One, how well the listing is optimized for the keywords people in your niche are actually using to try to find that product. And two, how well is it optimized for conversion rate? If we can out convert our competition, we will naturally get more impressions, which will lead to more traffic, which leads to more sales.
Yeah. There was a question that came in here. Is Everbee the only tool that we use and that others should try? Yes, as of right now, and I've tried a few of them. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to bash them. I just didn't find them useful. So yes, I use Everbee for basically we use it for product research. We use it for a little bit of keyword research. And then we use it now for our Everbee email. We use the Everbee email side of it where we send out messages to our customers. So basically there's an automated sequence that gets triggered that once we have a customer come in the door, they get an order confirmation that also invites them to join our VIP list. Then from there, we send them another email automatically, by the way, that's already been pre-written that goes out to when their order has been shipped. And then the third one goes out when it's been delivered. And then the fourth one is 24 hours later to make sure everything is okay. And I will say right now, this has been absolutely game changer. Like, it's been awesome. We get so many messages from people thanking us for sending them follow-up emails and being on top of their order. And we get so many people that they just say, it's so nice to hear from the shop owner. Because a lot of times people are like, well, why am I going to send an email if Etsy already sends emails? Well, Etsy's probably goes to the spam folder. They probably don't see it because it's just a generic Etsy email. Ours is written from us. And we've gotten reviews from it. We've gotten people to join our email list from it. And we've had people that buy more products from it. So again, if you're not using Everbee, you should be. number one. Product research for sure. But now the Everbee email that's built in, that's a game changer. So I would definitely recommend that. If you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can sign up there. Actually, the email thing, though, let me throw this up here real quick. If you go to emailforshops.com and you're going there just to really use the email side of it, although you'll get everything else, you'll get a free month of the growth plan when you sign up for the growth plan. So if you want that, just go to emailforshops.com and you can sign up there. All right, Chris, let's wrap this up. I know we got some questions, but I wanted to kind of address a couple other things real quick if we have time. So this here is a big one. All right. We talked a little bit about it, but I want to go deeper here. The Etsy SEO debate. And there was a question that I put into our Facebook group, which, by the way, if you want to be part of our Facebook group, head on over to brandcreators.com/group, and you can be part of our group. It's really the number one group out there for building a brand for Etsy sellers, by the way. More than welcome to join us. It's free. But I put the question in the group and I talked about SEO being really a myth that a lot of people think that it's the answer to succeeding, is like finding the right keywords and making sure that your SEO is all dialed in, and then you will get traffic. And once you figure out that, you're going to succeed. I put that in the group, and I had one of our members kind of challenge me on that. And they said this, I'll share the story with you. They said, well, Scott, I don't agree. Actually, they said, I think we'll have to agree to disagree, because I basically 2 years ago, I went ahead and I launched a bunch of products. And then I came back a year later, I think it was around that time. And then I started to learn more about SEO and keyword research. And then I updated my listings, and I went from only 100 sales to like 800 sales. So I know that SEO works. And I'm like, okay, maybe, but here's the deal. Here's what we need to address. Number one, she had said, I listed these 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, things were different. Okay. But also, it sounds like you didn't really have any SEO going at all, right? It's like you kind of did it, but you probably didn't know 100% about SEO and how to do good keyword research. And over the course of time, you learned the basics about keyword research. So you did some keyword research, you found the keywords that were being searched for. I can't tell you how many times I see people launch products with like keywords that are in there that never would be searched for, or descriptive ones like shiny red, whatever, right? Like, I don't know, ornament for Christmas. Like, who's searching for a shiny red? Not many people. Okay. So if we're talking about that as that's what was fixed, well, then yeah, there's a good chance that you're probably going to do better. And you had a seasoned account and you had seasoned listings. So once you updated that, got re-indexed, and you probably now are getting some sales. Okay. It also could be that when you made this change, and I don't know, it could have been a part of the season that was getting more traffic. So if you did this, let's say that you launched in the middle of the summer or the spring, and then you did an update around fourth quarter. Well, guess what? It's probably just going to naturally give you more sales because there's more traffic and more people searching, and you would have gotten traffic even if you didn't do a lot of the updating. Okay. Now I can't say that for certain, but what I'm saying is a lot of times when people are starting, they don't understand SEO or keyword research in this case. And then they learn it, and then they use good keywords now, ones that are being searched for. And that's really the secret here. Find keywords that people are searching for. And I don't mean the hidden keywords. I mean the obvious keywords, the ones that's getting the most demand. And then putting them into your title is going to give you a much greater chance of showing up than if you had ones that weren't being searched for. I mean, it makes sense. If you now add on top of that, putting a little bit of Etsy ads money behind it, and now you start to get some sales, well, that's going to kick in, and it's going to allow you to now be seen more in organic because you're getting sales. So I can't say for certain that that's what happened here, but I would be willing to bet on that that's probably what happened. Okay. An underutilized or under optimized listing. And then you updated it with keywords that are actually being searched for. And then from there, probably getting some sales because you're now seasoned and it's been out there a little while. And now that's going to start to get you sales. I don't know if they were running any Etsy ads. That wasn't said. And I also don't know if it was in a busier time of the year, or maybe it was something that you sell around Mother's Day, and Mother's Day is your time of the year, right? So what I wanted to kind of say here was like, yes, there's a debate out there on SEO. And I'm not saying that SEO isn't important. I'm saying it is important, but it's not the only thing that's important. And it's, if you only focus on SEO, there's a good chance you're probably not going to get the results that you're expecting. You need to now, in 2024 and beyond, you need to start marketing. You need to understand marketing. And that has to do with Etsy ads. Not a lot. You can do $2 a day, $5 a day. Email marketing. If you can do email marketing, that's going to boost your sales. And if you boost your sales, you're probably going to get more rankings. Okay. So email marketing, and then internal email. And that's where Etsy will allow you to set up these internal email triggers that if someone favorites an item, they can get sent a coupon. That'll boost your sales. And then the other one is if someone adds it to their cart, but they don't buy, they can get a coupon code there that you pre-set up, and then they would potentially buy. All right. So yes, I know there's going to be a debate, and I know some people aren't going to agree with me, and that's okay. It's okay. If you do want to go by what we follow as far as our checklist and our guide for optimizing a listing fully, because you do need to optimize it. There is a checklist that we use. If you want that, just go ahead in the comments, put in SEO, and I will send you the guide that we follow. All right. And it'll kind of go through the entire, methodology of SEO and kind of how we see it and how we use it. All right. So SEO in the comments, and I'll send you a copy of that. Chris, anything that I left out on that?
I think, again, the biggest thing here is when people say SEO in the Etsy context, they get obsessed with the keyword side of this, finding the perfect juicy keyword or finding a hidden keyword. Etsy's algorithm is substantially more complicated than just having a single keyword. It's about whether or not you qualify. That's the keyword portion. And then traffic and sales. If you qualify and someone comes to your listing, how likely are they to buy? And what most people forget about in the SEO context, Scott, is the second portion, which really is 80% of whether you will rank or not, if not more, the traffic and sales portion. So we're not saying you shouldn't put the keywords your customers are using in your listing. What we are saying is that's less important than how well your listing converts once somebody does find it. So yes, get keywords people are using into your listings, but really spend that extra time, energy, and effort rather than trying to find the perfect keyword and tweak everything all over the place just to try to get a few more impressions. Focus on turning those impressions into sales. Etsy will take notice of that, and they will show you more frequently.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Okay. I got another little topic here I want to address. And this is good because I kind of came up with this one on my own, and I think it's interesting. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss what I call the Etsy lottery method. And I'm also going to share with you why you should avoid it. And here's the deal. I call this the Etsy lottery method because that's what people are, in a sense, doing. And here's what I mean. People are launching random products, random niches, because they heard that that's the way that you succeed. You just basically go out there, you find products that are doing well, and you hurry up and create one yourself, and you launch it as fast as you can. And you just keep repeating that process. So it's very similar to going into your convenience store and buying, 5 scratch offs. And then you go out in the car, you scratch them off, and guess what? You don't have a winner, and you wait next week and you go in and you buy 5 more. Or in this case on Etsy, you launch 5 more. And then you keep repeating that process. And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to go in your car one day, scratch that one lottery ticket off, and you're going to go, oh, I won $100. Yes. You spent 100, by the way, by now, but you're like, I won $100. And you run back in there and guess what you do? You buy another bunch of lottery tickets using the $100. You come back out and, oh crap. I didn't lose any money though, because I just made that $100 back. Actually, you lost a bunch of money because you've already scratched off a bunch that didn't really result in anything. But that's very similar to what we're doing. Because if you're on Etsy and you're doing this, you're probably going to get a few sales on this little random t-shirt. And then you're going to get another one a week later on this one. And then you're going to get another one on this one. And you might even get one that gets 5 over here. And that's that $100 or that $200 one that you won. You're like, yeah, I got it. This is a winning product now. I'm going to go ahead and scale this thing, right? It's not sustainable. You've probably heard it. When people win the lottery, they don't appreciate, number one, the money that they've earned. So they don't know what to do with it. And it's very similar to this. If you don't understand business, you can have something take off and then go ahead and try to get a quick money grab. Chances are it's probably not going to work anymore. Okay. The days of doing that on Etsy are probably over. If they're not over, they're soon to be over. All right. Because everyone's doing it. So what would you rather do? Would you rather go in, scratch off some lottery tickets and hope to win? Or would you rather strategically like to go out, find some good real estate? You know, it's producing very, very well. It's got history. We've already done all of the analytics on it because we can look at that stuff and we can ask questions and we can see what is the best piece of real estate? Where is the best area? Wouldn't you rather focus there and spend time and money and effort at something that's already been proven and something that you know is going to work now and well into the future versus just going and trying to do a scratch off or a lottery ticket and hoping you win it big? That's what I would rather do. And that's how I look at building any business, any brand. And in this case, we're using Etsy as a springboard to launch the business. Okay. And so what I really want people to understand is, like, if you're doing that, if you're just launching random t-shirts, random mugs, and you're just hoping to hit it big, you're basically playing the lottery. That's basically what you're doing. And you're going to probably win a couple here and there. Maybe you'll win one that'll take off and it'll make you $3,000. Good for you. But now what? You got to go to try to find another one. You got to go get another scratch off. You're going to got to get another lottery ticket. Okay. So what I would rather you do, okay, and this is what I do. And again, you can do whatever you want. Maybe you love the excitement of going in and scratching off and seeing if you want. Maybe you like that. Maybe you enjoy going in and spending $20, $30 and seeing if you can win. You know, I don't think you enjoy losing that money once you figure out you didn't win, right? But maybe you like the thrill of it. Okay. I personally, if I'm going to put time and effort into something because I'm trying to build a business that can grow and also eventually maybe be sold, which we haven't talked about that, and we aren't going to do that on this video, but I want to build a true asset that potentially can grow into something bigger. So I'm spending time now. I'm investing time and effort and money into building this thing for the long term. So I would like to know in the comments, are you building a short-term or a long-term business? In the comments, let me know, short-term or long-term. And I'd really like to know. I mean, if it's the short-term, hey, no problem. Good luck. But here on this channel, I focus on helping people build brands. If that's something that you want to do, I would encourage you to join our group, which is really the #1 brand building group for Etsy sellers on Facebook right now. If you head on over to brandcreators.com/group, you can join us over there. We do weekly live streams and we do additional free training over there as well. So if you'd like to join us, head on over there and we'll see you on the inside of that group. Chris, is there anything that you wanted to bring up on that point? The lottery ticket.
The big thing. Yeah. So playing the lottery is fun and all. And Scott, I don't know about you. Does South Carolina still have Powerball?
I believe so. I don't pay attention, Chris. I'll be honest. I don't even know. I don't watch the news, so I don't even know. I know it used to be on the news years ago. I don't even gamble, guys. I've been to a casino once in my life.
So my dad had this rule growing up Scott, where he said, I will play the lottery on one condition. Powerball is over $100 million. Well, now that happens all the time. So he's changed it to $1 billion because that happened once. And he said, if it hits $1 billion, I'll throw $10 on it, right? Why not? Just on the off chance that it hits. But approaching business that way is not really a smart choice. And what playing the Etsy lottery, Scott, as you just described it, leads to is being on the Etsy hamster wheel. It's all about being in product creation mode all of the time. And you lose out on the ability to spend that extra time and effort focusing on your customers, focusing on growing sales from the products that are already successful, and focusing on really understanding what led those products to be successful, because you have to launch more and more products. You have to buy more and more scratch offs to just get that feeling back, to get that sale, to get that cha-ching back into your Etsy shop. So if you're cool with constantly spinning in a circle to try to get the same level of sales, then by all means, go play the Etsy lottery, right? Just throw up as many products as you want and take those chances. If you don't want to do that, if you want a better return for your time, energy, effort, and creativity in coming up with designs, then go with the niche-based approach. You don't have to play the lottery to figure out what's happening, and you can focus on growing a business that isn't going to give you that quick hit and then go away. It will give you long-term sustainable success.
Cool. All right, cool. All right. We got time for one more, right, Chris?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. All right. This one here, I'm going to get a little strategic here. I'm going to actually get a little strategic, because there's a question that we get asked a lot. And that is, Scott, how do I fix slow sales on my Etsy shop? Maybe you had a really good Q4 and now you're like, okay, now what? How do I get consistent sales throughout the entire year? So if you give me like 5 minutes, I'm going to actually walk you through a strategy that you can use and really a little checklist to see if you can, in fact, with what you already have, get consistent sales. So the first thing in this strategy is you need to know, is there even demand for the products that you are selling, that you are launching? Because if there isn't demand in those off months, right? If it's a Christmas ornament, there's a good chance you're probably not going to sell that Christmas ornament after Christmas. I mean, you might, but probably not. All right. So that one there is not going to be something that you're going to be thinking that you're going to sell on a regular basis. So you have to start thinking evergreen. What is something that has good demand throughout the entire year? Now, if you can't find a product that is, well, year round, let's call it, or evergreen, well, then you're going to have to do something that I call holiday hacking. And this is where you would want to map out the entire year, all of the holidays or all of the special events that your niche would potentially buy products for. All right. And then this way here, what you can do is 60 days, 30 days before that holiday happens, you're going to start launching products for that holiday. And here's the deal. The first year is going to be the building year. And what I mean by that is every single holiday, you're going to be launching products towards that holiday. Now, I know right now we just wrapped up Christmas, depending on when you're watching this. Well, my wife, even though she was super busy, she is already now starting to put up Valentine's Day stuff. Okay. Who would think? It's like literally days after the holiday and she's already putting up Valentine's Day stuff. Okay. That's what we're talking about. You have to start creating a backlog. So this way here, even though last year we had some Valentine's Day stuff, well, this year we're adding a few new. It doesn't mean that we're going to add as much as we did maybe the year before or the year before that, but you are going to always add a little bit of fresh content for people that might have already purchased from you. Okay. But the very first year is going to be the year that you're going to be building your product lines, and you're going to be taking and looking at the holidays that pertain to your niche. And then from there, building out products. All right. The next thing that I would do for this strategy is I would make sure that I'm running consistent sales throughout the entire year. Now, if you start to get busy at a certain time of the year, which we did in fourth quarter, we actually reduced our sales. Okay. And I mean, reduced our sale percentage that we were giving off. Like we normally will give 20% off and we'll kind of mix and match throughout different products through different holidays. But in Q4, we were doing about 20 to 25% off depending on the product. Well, when you start getting busier, you're like, I got to slow this down a little bit. That's what we were thinking because my wife was doing a lot of personalization. Well, we just took that discount and just made it 10% instead of it being 20. And that does slow down sales a little bit. And if you really want to slow them down, you just take the sale completely off. But if you want consistent sales, a great way to do this is to run these sales on a regular basis. And what I like to do is I like to do a new sale every 7 days. And the reason why is because number one, you will be notifying people that have favorited or followed that product or your shop. So they're going to get notifications that you're running a new sale. You're also going to be showing people that there's a start time and an end time. So they're going to see a little timer at the end that starts to say 12 hours left. And then that way that'll add a little bit of scarcity to that sale. And then what we'll do is we'll do them every 7 days and we'll mix and match them. Sometimes we'll do 20%. We might do 15%. We might do 30%. If we're doing a launch, we might go really aggressive. But that's what we're doing to get consistent sales. All right. The next thing is running Etsy ads. So the reason why I'm saying doing the Etsy ads after we've ran the sale or we're running the sale is because you're going to have eyeballs now and we want a better chance of converting. So a great way of doing this is having that sale. So if you take those two and bring them together, well, now you're going to have a greater chance of increasing your conversion rate because, well, people like sales. All right. And they might even land on it when it's going to expire, which is going to encourage them to buy even faster. So again, I'll just give you a little recap here. We want to, number one, make sure that the products that we want to sell on a consistent basis have the ability to sell on a consistent basis. Number two, we want to be launching products that are around the certain holidays for our niche. So this way here, we can have people that are searching for those holidays or those events. We can show up. And we want to do this 60 days before the holiday. At the latest would be 30 days before. Now, if you already have these in your catalog, they're already there. So that's good. All right. The third thing is we want to start running that sale, 20% off, 25% off, something substantial. We want to run that for 7 days. Then we want to turn on the Etsy ads. And then that way there, we can start to get traffic to those listings. All right. The last thing in this strategy is we want to fully optimize our shop. And the one thing that you cannot miss, you have to do, all right, this is what we do, is we are turning on what we call the internal email triggers. And this is something that Etsy allows us to have the ability to do. And that is, if someone favorites an item, they are going to also get an email that says, hey, take an additional, I don't think it's an additional, actually, take 10% off or whatever, right? Well, that sale could have either expired and now they can get the 10%, or they're not going to be able to get the 10%, but they're going to still get the 20%. But it's a way for you to nudge that person that had favorited that item. Now, I know people will ask, well, what happens if you have a sale running and then they get that discount? What's going to happen? Etsy is going to give them the highest percentage off. So if you're running 20% and you're going to give 10% for the favorited thing, they'll get the email, but you're going to only give them the 20% because that's active right now. Same thing goes for your abandoned carts. So if you have someone that adds it to their cart, but they don't buy, you can now set up a coupon that will then get sent out that will say, hey, we saw you were interested in this thing. Take 20% off, take 10% off. But once again, if you already have a sale running, it's only going to take the highest percentage off of their order. That is the strategy. All right. Very simple, not hard. Something you can probably implement in, I would say, 15 minutes, half hour. And then from there, you're going to have a great chance of getting consistent sales. All right, Chris, anything that you want to say there on the how to fix slow sales on Etsy thing?
Two things to clarify really quickly. We had some people asking Scott, how long do we run the 7-day sales for? We're setting sales up once a week and then letting them run until we set up the next sales. We're not going in like every 24 hours and creating that extra scarcity or doing anything like that. And the other question was, well, if my price is already set at break even, then how would I create a sale and not lose my shirt? The answer to that is you shouldn't be pricing at break even. The way that you should lower your price on Etsy or anywhere else is with the sale. So if you're selling your product for $29.99, that's your regular price. You leave it at $29.99. And the only way that you are reducing that price is via that sale mechanism. And then the third thing, Scott, is we always hear the concern that people are going to take an extra 10% with the internal coupon on top of a sale. Etsy does a great job of sorting that out, and they will almost always give people the best deal. So if it's 20% on the sale, but 10% on the coupon, they'll give them that 20%. If that sale has expired and they come back, the day after that sale expired, they can still use that coupon and get 10% off, but it won't give them 20% and then another 10% on top of that. So if you're running a sale and it's a better deal than your internal coupons, that's totally fine. Just keep in mind that they will get the higher discount and that you don't have to worry about those two things stacking on top of each other.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's good feedback. That's good stuff there. So thank you guys in the comments for everyone being so active. Again, this is live. This is our live stream. If you are not part of our Facebook group yet, I would definitely recommend coming on over and joining us. We do these live streams. We also have some additional content in there, and we have a community of people that are actively and seriously building their brands. If you want to be part of that group, head on over to brandcreators.com/group, and you can join us over there and be one of the, I really think, the rare Etsy seller that is building a brand, and not the one that's just chasing the trends and kind of following the launch 1,000 products and try to throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall. We are not doing that. That's not what we promote. We are actively building our own brand, and we're sharing what we're doing and what's working, and we're helping others to do the same. So we do that inside the group. If you're interested, make sure that you head on over there and join. And when you do, say hello. Go ahead and just post a little comment in there and just say hello. And we'd love to see all of our new members coming in. So we appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Again, a lot of stuff we covered here. We covered a lot of stuff, a lot of guides that we gave out today. If you guys want our SEO guide, put SEO in the comments. If you want our Etsy ads guide, which is not yet released, but it's going to be very, very soon. I'd say within the next week. Go ahead and put ads in the comments and give us some time. Obviously, we're going to be manually reaching out to each and every one of you to deliver these, these guides. And then, Chris, was there any other one that I missed? Oh, our email guide, our email playbook. If you guys are interested in external traffic using email, put email in the comments, and we will go ahead and we will send you our email playbook, which is, I think it's over 60 pages long, which goes through our strategy for using email marketing to drive external sales. So if you're interested in that, we've got that guide available for you as well. Chris, anything else that you want to say here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say the other thing is if you're just getting started, you don't know where to start, and you're like, I want to put all of these things in the comments. Before you do that, I would suggest putting 64K into the comments, and they'll let us get you the roadmap, which will lay out the entire process of going through the niche selection, creating all of these things. You can also go to brandcreators.com/64K and sign up for that right now if that's where you are. But what we're trying to do, especially as we move into 2024, Scott, is help people with each of these individual areas, because we know that everybody is in a different spot. So no matter where you are, there should be something for you. If you haven't heard something that calls your attention as what your sticking point is, let us know in the comments below, and we'll see if we can create a guide for that as well.
That's a great idea, Chris. Yeah, you guys let us know. And the other thing is we make some announcements on here, and we have an announcement coming up. We're not going to share it quite yet, but we're working on something pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited to share it with you guys. If you do download any of those guides, you'll probably also be on our email list, and we'll be notifying our email list about that big announcement. We'll also be announcing it here probably next week on our live stream. The way that you can get access to that is, well, be part of our YouTube channel, or you can head over to our group, like we already mentioned, brandcreators.com/group. And we're going to be announcing it in there as well. Pretty excited about this, and it's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be pretty awesome, but I'm going to leave it at that. All right. So guys, this has been a long one, but this has been a good one, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Do us a favor. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, smash the like button, hit subscribe. This way here, you never miss a video that comes out. We do publish right now 2 videos, soon to be 3 videos a week, and we do our live stream. So if you want to be part of that, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook watching this in the group, well, you can just sit where you are because, well, you're getting it all right inside the group. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day, and we'll see you right back here in the next episode. Take care, guys.